Hi, welcome to another episode of Firm Foundations Podcast with your host CJ and Tony. Last week we wrapped up chapter 38 in Genesis, where we took a detour away from Joseph's story and looked at what was going on with Judah and how his inner turmoil, his sense of guilt, is probably what led him to exile himself because of what he'd done and his role in his father's broken heart. But the tension that's been going back and forth between Joseph and Judah and Reuben and who would be the next generation leader of the family to carry on the divine mission is coming back into focus again in this chapter as we switch back to Joseph. It's just that tension keeps bubbling up. It's like they say, on a rolling
Roller coaster.
boil.
Yeah.
And the events in chapter 39 we're going into and chapter 38 are related to each other in several different ways. We're going to look into that, but we're going to talk about how God sometimes, many times, remains silent but works in the background. Uh, this chapter is it's a doozy in many ways.
Well, I like how God is speaking extremely loudly here, but he's not saying anything.
Yes, beautiful way to put it.
Through the characters of this chapter, uh, we're going to see God working, if you want to call it feverishly,
Yeah,
to set these things in motion, but he never says a word.
yeah. We're gonna find out what it means that God was with somebody while we cannot see him with our human eyes at all. We're gonna see how, um, like you said, God works behind the scene and is doing a lot, but he's quiet. We can't see him, um, and we're gonna be able to. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, not empathize, but we're gonna see ourselves in Joseph in many ways when we think that we're righteous in an instant and that we're blameless, but we're suffering, and God seems to be nowhere to be found, but He's been there the whole time. Um,
I see a lot of Jesus
yeah,
in this chapter, uh, in comparison with Joseph.
yeah,
His sufferings and what he's having to go through, and of course it'll work throughout the rest of this Genesis, but
yeah,
it's almost a mirror image of his uh, after he gets out of his teenage years of being pious about his dreams and everything. We start seeing him grow uh, in the fact of who he has become, which is more like a Jesus image
yeah,
in his life, and how he handles situations. Uh,
yeah,
you know, he we're going to see he never turned his back. Isn't that right, Cookie? Okay.
yeah. Say hi, baby doll. All right, so without further ado,
Are we ready? Chapter 39. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all he did to
Hmm.
prosper in his hand. Uh, this is kind of odd. You have an Egyptian who has their many gods,
Yeah.
and uh, then you have suddenly you have this slave that comes in, and this he knows that this slave isn't going to be worshiping his gods because he's a Hebrew. He knows most likely knows that Hebrews serve one God, uh, and he notices things are different in his household now
Yeah.
because of the God that he serves. It's like it's nothing that Joseph himself brought, other than the fact that he serves the one true God,
Yeah.
and he sees this.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting, the name of the Lord hasn't been revealed, as far as we know, to anybody yet, his most holy name. But that is the name exactly used in verse 3 and 2, where it's all capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hashem. It's the most holy name of the Lord, the Yud Hey Vav Hey, YHWH. And even his pagan master, like you said, notices that. But he also knows which God it is that's being a blessing. And I guess so. The first point of um, contact for our lives is, let's live in such a manner that when those who do not know the Lord see us and see what's going on with us, that they know that the Lord is with us.
Something is different.
Yeah. But a few things, right? First of all, um, we're gonna see Potiphar, Potiphar,
Yeah.
whichever pronunciation you like, later on in a different role. Something's gonna change in his life, and uh, it's gonna be because of how he treats Joseph in this chapter. Um, right now, he is an officer of the Pharaoh, and the word translated as officer really means eunuch. So it's interesting because eunuchs, of course, when you work in the palace, um, the pharaoh wants to be able to trust you around his wives and concubines. So it was customary for the officers to be,
Eunuchs.
um, yeah, and but eunuchs come in different flavors. You know, they experience uh, their mutilation and the effects of it in different ways. Some more severe than others, and as we're going to see, this this officer, this eunuch, has a wife, so he's clearly able to fulfill his marital duties to his wife at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, he can't have children. So it's an interesting dynamic. Just thinking about, why would you marry a eunuch? What kind of power dynamics? What kind of social and political events are going on to make that happen? To make that worthwhile? All that good stuff. Um, uh,
Maybe, maybe he had a. I know we're talking about him being captain of the guard could mean several things.
yeah,
Uh, it could have been position. His position might have lifted her up to a higher standard.
yeah, and that's one thing. And also, his position would have offered her um, different position in society also. So it's mutually beneficial. But
Hmm.
um, on top of that, like you said, the term translated as captain of the guard literally means the captain of the butchers or the cooks, and it's an interesting choice of word there. That word is only used 32 times in the Old Testament. 26 times it's used in um, Kings, First Kings, and Jeremiah, and it is specifically talking about the commander of the Babylonian army. The commander of the Babylonian army is called a butcher, the prince of butchers, the captain of the butchers, because they slaughtered so many people. They killed not only so many soldiers, but so many innocent Israelites uh, of the southern kingdom, Judahites, and so many carried so many into captivity. So that term is used in a military sense as the butcher of the way we talk about. If anybody remembers the '90s, Slobodan Milosevic in Serbia and Bosnia, the butcher of, I forgot what town it was said he was, but it's used in that sense. But then in Samuel, it's used actually for a cook, a butcher and a cook, twice, but four times in Genesis, from 39 to through uh, 41, I believe. It's used, or 47 maybe, can't remember exactly, but it's used four times specifically to talk about this man and this man alone. And that makes us question, what is his deal? Why is it translated as captain of the guard? Because the context doesn't give us a whole lot of detail.
Hmm.
But from that, we can understand the use. When we take this passage and put it together with the following couple passages, we see that he was probably an officer in the palace who was in charge, a military person in charge of a vast number of responsibilities. One being in charge of the butchers and the cooks, one being himself being a executioner, the chief executioner, um, and also him being a military person. And it appears that he's a very brutal person, and that's why they call him a butcher. Um, but when it comes to Joseph, he's going to act very differently,
Hmm.
and it's going to stand out.
Verse 4. So Joseph found favor in his sight and served him. Then he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put under his authority. So it was from the time that he had made him overseer of his house and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. Thus he left
Hmm.
all that he had in Joseph's hands, and he did not know
Hmm.
what he had except for the bread which he ate.
Yeah.
That's some wild stuff there. Now Joseph was handsome and in form and appearance.
Hmm.
Um, Not knowing anything that's going on in your house because he trusts this man that he bought so much. I mean, he's like, I don't even know what bread I'm going to be having today, but I'm not worried about it because I've got Joseph.
Yeah. It's a little more than that.
Yeah, that's just putting it mildly. It's just it's funny how it reads
Yeah.
that I don't know for the bread which I'm eating.
Well, that bread is actually more than just bread.
Yes, Yes, it's his whole everything that he owns. I mean, inside the house and outside the house, in the fields.
But the term bread, lehem, is also biblical code
Oh,
for his wife, for um so bread, bakery. Even today we use it in English. There's a bun in the oven.
hmm
What do we think?
right.
Basically he's saying he trusted everything into Joseph's hand except for his wife. So he didn't worry about anything except for his wife. And and we see that same thing. Like, some people might say, where are you getting that from? There's several places in the Bible where it makes it kind of clear. But also, just think about where Jesus was born. Bethlehem, the house of bread, the bakery, where the city is literally the womb through which the Messiah comes into this world through. Um, yeah, bread is a euphemism for the womb, and therefore for his wife in this context. And it's telling that it comes right after this, that it says, and Joseph was handsome in form and appearance.
Mhm.
That language is only used twice in the Old Testament, or in the Bible in general. Do y'all remember where?
Not right offhand, no.
When it's talking about Rachel.
Oh yeah, I was just telling you that earlier, wasn't I?
Yeah,
That
yeah, you
he
were.
probably got his appearance because Rachel is extremely beautiful apparently,
Yeah,
and this guy is extremely handsome apparently,
yeah,
both in face and in he had probably good build like me at least.
yeah. And
Okay,
it's
maybe not.
actually bringing our attention to a a angle of slavery that the Bible doesn't talk about. It actually is not talking about at all. Let me rephrase it. The Bible is communicating to us something under wraps that isn't spelled out clearly, um, about Egyptian slavery. In Egypt, slavery, actually in Romans too, right? Slavery
Mhm.
is also, it's not just about serving in the house, cooking and washing and cleaning and doing whatever chores and tasks and skilled labor. It's also a power dynamic. It's also sexual. The slave is the master's carnal plaything. And it's saying Potiphar did not, he gave everything to Joseph, put it into his care, except for his wife. But hey, also, Joseph is so handsome, so beautiful and youthful, that he's kind of just, the Bible is bringing the two together. Like, just like he's treating his wife, he also wants to be with Joseph. But that's not going to happen. And, we will see in chapter 41, uh, something's going to happen. And the sages are going to sit down and look at that and look at this chapter and say, what gives? Why is it happening this way? And it's going to tie back and going to get explained with this hint here, and how God is working in the background to protect Joseph against Potiphar's impure thoughts. Um, but Joseph is being sexualized here by everybody.
Mhm.
Everybody sees how beautiful he is, and yeah,
it seems that there's something more with Joseph and Rachel. Highly favored. He's the one that got the coat.
Yeah.
Uh, he was treated differently,
Yeah.
just as Rachel was compared to Leah.
Yeah.
And Joseph is treated differently from his other 10 brothers
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's a lot of comparison that if you were to look further into it of how Rachel is her, I don't know if you want to call it her legacy, maybe is continued on through this child that she has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She has Joseph first.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the last one, Benjamin comes
Benjamin.
along.
Uh,
Yeah.
so nothing is lost. I think Rachel felt she was ripped off, just like Jacob felt he was ripped off.
Yeah.
But through him, her legacy, so to speak, her her beauty and everything that she was is carried on through her son, and we're going to see later on how that is. Uh, uh, Now I can't think of the word, but he's given authority, and he's placed over. He becomes, ruler over Egypt,
Yeah.
basically.
I'm sorry. 1 second. Cookie.
She's okay. Um, but anyway, yeah, if we have to keep in mind of who Rachel was and see her through him, in a sense of how she's her legacy is still going through.
Yeah.
She didn't get everything that she wanted, but he's going to fulfill that for her, even though she may be dead, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. He's. Yeah. He's. He got her looks and her father's faith, and and yeah.
I just think it's a something that was long time coming. Finally happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 7, here we go. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said to his master's wife, Look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. There is no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you.
Mm-hmm.
But you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So it was as she spoke to Joseph day by day that he did not heed her to lie with her or to be with her. You know, who knows what she looked like? He's this rock star, handsome guy. But she has given him permission, hoping, begging, basically, for him to lie with her, and he's remaining his chastity, his dignity, everything, knowing that he doesn't want to sin against God first, nor sin against his master Potiphar.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you uh, the pressure that he's under on this situation. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a woman constantly, and it's not nagging, no, don't mean any kind of insult on that to women, but I mean, she's just throwing herself, and we don't know what she's doing in this.
Yeah.
Dressing fine, putting on perfume, who knows, wearing negligees, see-through negligees, whatever, trying to get him to. I mean, there's nothing saying what she did, of course, but if she's trying to do this day after day after day, she's got to be doing more than, hey, why don't you lie with me?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's laying it on thick.
And
And
he's doing a good job resisting.
yeah.
um, verse 11. Here we go. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was inside. There's a mistake that he made. That's
Well, see,
okay.
and this is where they, when you look at the Hebrew, you can translate it this way, but it also kind of hints that it might have been a Egyptian festival day, so everybody would be at the temple, and it seems like she stayed back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she made come up with an excuse saying, "I'm sick," or "I'm unclean. I can't go to the temple. I can't do anything, so I'm going to stay back." And she orchestrated this.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he, being a slave, had to be working.
Had to do his duties.
And she orchestrated it. And this is where it's setting up the scene for chapter 41 verse 45. And back to popular culture. If you've ever seen the movie quadrilogy, I guess you would call it, the Twilight Saga, Twilight movies with the sparkly queer vampires.
Oh no!
So,
Sorry.
but in it, there's this human girl, Bella, who falls in love with this day walking vampire, Edward.
Day walking. Okay.
Yeah. The reason why I called it queer isn't because they're like queer
okay.
sexually, but
okay.
it's not your usual vampire story.
Right.
But and somehow she's also friends with this Indian kid who falls in love with her. Turns out though, he wasn't really in love with her. He was in love with her unconceived future daughter that she would have with a vampire.
Okay.
Which is whatever.
Yeah.
It's creepy beyond all, but the idea is that he imprinted on the baby that was not yet even in the womb. And Potiphar's wife is kind of going through this, where she's imprinting on Joseph, but the sages look at it to try to explain all the weirdness in this chapter that we're going to look at. They're like, why? Why is this going on like this? And because of the passage's location, its closest to, it comes right after Tamar, Judah and Tamar.
Mm-hmm.
So they see it in the light of Tamar, and they're going, well, just like Tamar wanted to have a portion in the future of Israel by having the child, and that she was not going to be denied her right as a widow of Israel. Potiphar's wife she knows because of her pagan divination and whatever, through astrology or whatever, somehow she knows that she's supposed to have a portion in Israel's history, in the mission of the future Jewish people. So she was like, I guess I have to have kids with Joseph. But then we're going to find out it wasn't her, it was her daughter that's going to be marrying Joseph and having the two kids that, or the two that we know that later become tribes in Israel. But
That's a little odd here. Who does she get pregnant by? Because it's not Potiphar.
it's not Potiphar.
You know, and this daughter that she's going to have, uh, you know, Joseph is what, maybe in his 20s, so he's going to be 20 plus years older than. So he's. That's just.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I said,
back in those days, there was nothing out of the ordinary, but it was.
Like I said, there's a lot of weirdness in this this chapter and the next couple chapters, and the sages wrestle with it and try to make sense of it and explain it in a satisfactory manner, and that's the explanation that they come up with, and it really does kind of help explain if we're taking God seriously and working in the background. If we take Joseph and his claim to purity seriously, if we give God the benefit of the doubt that he deserves, then this explains it. What's going on? Yeah.
So what I'm about to read here next, because of course starts off with that he goes into the house and nobody's there. It's a bad idea to be in a situation where you're with somebody of the opposite sex on your own.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be around somewhere, preferably in the same room or at least in an adjacent room, you know, because you get yourself in situations. And it doesn't matter if it's man or woman.
Yeah.
You know, that obviously you don't have to worry about talking with your sister. Shouldn't have to worry about it. Or maybe but it's always good to have a witness there, and preferably if you're talking with a woman, that another female being there, not another man, because that still looks, because of things that could, and of course in any situation things get twisted and turned around. But anyway, just a little bit of life experience to tell you.
Basically, we should always strive to not only cover our bums, but also just to avoid the temptation, because the other person might not slander you. Something might grow organically, and a temptation might get out of hand, and it's just best to not put ourselves in that situation.
It happens to any and everybody. I don't care what position you're in. I don't care if you're the lowliest person or whatever the highest position. I don't consider the Pope the highest position, but people can understand that you know, anywhere in between doesn't matter.
Yeah.
President, pastor, owner of a store, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can be the most faithful person in the whole wide world, and you are not prone to being tempted.
Yeah. And if you find yourself in a position where you are able to get on the private jet of a creepy guy and go to his creepy island, and just don't do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Verse 12. No, I'm sorry, verse 11. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men in the house was inside, that she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. And so it was when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside, that she called to the men of her house and spoke to them, saying, See, he has brought into this house, into us a Hebrew to mock us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And it happened when he heard that I lifted my voice and cried out, that he left his garment with me and fled and went outside. Uh, so the vengeance. She is sick and tired of his refusal. So she is going to set him up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and that can happen to us. I know it happens in the workplace a lot to people where, somebody just doesn't like you for whatever reason, and they make it their mission to ruin your career. It happens.
I had that happen to me.
And
They tried to. Uh, I'll just say I was working at in a office type area, and this person was sitting in a chair here. It was break time. They were watching TV, and I came down, sat down beside her, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" or whatever. So she went to HR and said that I sexually harassed her because I said hello. And they brought me in and explained, it's like, I didn't do anything, didn't touch her. I said hello, because like I normally do. And what really ticked me off was several weeks later, I was inside the break room having lunch, and there was uh, some people around, empty chairs on the other side of the table, one empty chair beside me. She came in and sat down right beside me. And I went to HR about it. I said, she complained about this about me, and she comes in and sits down right beside me. I said, and there's other chairs on the other side of the table. I said, what does that tell you? But that's how easy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it happens more to men than women, of course. And I think it's because of the way our brains are wired that men are not going to complain about sexual harassment from a woman. In the norm, Joseph would have, but in the norm, if a woman came up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" we wouldn't think nothing about it, no big deal. But if a man was to do that, all they have to do is say he's sexually harassing me. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen to women the other way around, whatever. But men are just stupid when it comes to stuff like that.
I mean, yes, women get sexually harassed more probably than men, but like you said, men aren't gonna really complain about it usually. But women will complain about it, and and if it happens, they should.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying,
but it happens that men get falsely accused way more than women do. So nuance.
Yeah.
But so I guess before we carry on, if you're enjoying this, please like, subscribe, share, comment. It really helps the channel out. It will help get the video in front of others. Yeah. Let's partner together.
This is a good subject especially for women that want to interject their thoughts on this situation, and what we've been talking about. And there was no we never meant to, disrespect women in this situation,
Yeah.
uh, but we're talking more reality, I guess. Uh, but we'd love to hear your comments.
Yeah.
Uh, so, verse 17. Then she spoke to him with words like these, saying, speaking to her husband,
Yeah.
the Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came in to me to mock me. So it happened as I lifted my voice and cried out that he left his garment with me and fled outside. Big setup. So it was when his master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, your servant did to me after this manner, that his anger was aroused. Then Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in the prison.
Mm.
And we had talked about this. Rape would have been an instant death penalty, especially with a slave.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So that's one of the quirks that make the rabbis question, okay, what's going on? Why is Potiphar not seeking full restitution, or not restitution, but retribution in this case?
This is what I talked about earlier. This is God is screaming silently, you will not touch my servant.
Yeah. I mean, he bought him. As Egyptian culture goes, Joseph is his carnal play toy. And we know that Joseph is still pure, sexually unmolested. So Potiphar would have known that, hey, this is not how Joseph is. So he gets mad, but I think he gets mad at his wife. Because another thing that we don't notice is in English is that in verse 19 when she says, your servant did to me after this manner, in the Hebrew it kind of hints at that Potiphar and his wife were copulating, and she was going, this is what your servant did to me. And so it seems like he's getting mad at her for lying, for talking about this, or perhaps
in the middle of them.
or perhaps he felt betrayed by Joseph because Joseph wouldn't consent to, and he's a slave, he couldn't consent, but basically it couldn't happen between them, so he's getting frustrated maybe with Joseph, but also with his wife. And
sort of like a jealousy thing.
Yeah, and so the rabbis tried to understand, like, why was he not able to have his way with Joseph? And because clearly he's married, he's able to function as a male, just can't have kids. So they postulate they create this midrashic story, this explanatory story that says, well, he tried, but God sent an angel to intervene and stop him, and he became fully impotent. So he knows for a fact that Joseph ain't, not only can he not do it, but Joseph is not the kind of guy. He knows that God is with him in everything that he does. So he knows that he's a righteous man and that he's not going to do this with his wife. But now, because his wife has told everybody that this happened,
right,
he has to take action. He knows he can't kill Joseph because even though he's a pagan worshiping other deities, and he's actually named after the sun god Ra, he knows that the God of the Hebrews is powerful, and that he's not going to take the chance.
He's got to save face.
So to save face and to avoid being smitten, he locks him up.
Yep. Satisfies his wife. We talked about this earlier, that he may be over the prison, over all the guards in the prison, and probably put him with a guard that he trusted, and may have told him, do no harm to this person.
Yeah.
And he may have even told him why. Because he's highly favored of his God, and he will be a great asset to you. And of course, we don't know how long he's been in the prison, whether this started day one or if it was a year or whatever. It doesn't say, which kind of aggravating. Wish we knew how old he was in certain areas of this time. But
well, it's gonna give us a few clues in the next couple chapters. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
All right, let me finish up this here. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy.
One second.
Okay.
One second.
Go ahead.
He got sold into slavery, but God was with him. He got unjustly thrown in prison, but God was with him. What's going on here? Mm-hmm. What is it? I thought when we come to the Lord, it's a rose garden after that. I thought we were conquerors, that no weapon formed against us could stand. And like, what's going on here?
That, I know I said about him, comparing him with Jesus, but Jesus' life wasn't no rose garden either. I mean, was it right after he was born? They were already trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Herod had all the kids 2 years and under slaughtered. Throughout his ministry, their eyes were set to kill Jesus in one way or another. He may have not have been a slave, but his life was not a rose garden. He didn't always have a place to sleep. That his ministry wasn't like some of these ministries are now, that have millions and millions of dollars, and they have their own 14-room guest house. And but the comparison, as far as we see, that Jesus' life wasn't, he didn't live in luxury.
Yeah.
And neither did Joseph. Jesus was, of course, he was pure and without sin. Joseph is a type of example. He had perfect opportunity to have Potiphar's wife. Yeah. Whether with or without knowledge, that's beyond the fact. But it as we'll see, it continues on.
Yeah.
22. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever they did there, it was his doing. The keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Here's a big question. How do you prosper in prison? Got a lot of favors, I guess. Yeah. Maybe he had better food brought to him. Yeah. Cleaner floors, because I'm sure those floors were not the best.
He, like you said, God is speaking so loud through his silence. When we face times where we feel like God has abandoned us, when things are getting harder and harder, where it goes from bad to worse, and we question, Lord, where are you? I'm sure Joseph had the same questions.
But yet he never faltered.
But the Lord was with him in everything he does, even if he didn't see it. Like you said, whether Potiphar was the man in charge of the prisons also, or if, just because he was a high ranking official, he had the pull to make it happen one way or the other. It seems like you said he arranged for uh, Joseph to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph did what he does. He whatever position, whatever situation you put him in, he does what he does.
He does.
He does what's right, and and that is seen. And because he does things the right way, things work out, even if it don't exactly work out for him in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's telling that just a chapter after he's had these visions about his future, about him being a ruler and his family bowing to him, not not in a sense of superiority or grandeur or vain ambitions, but be, simply because God has called him to be more, and his family's going to fall in line with that mission. Right after he has these dreams, he's been brought into the house of the butcher where dreams come to die. And then he's put in prison in the belly of the earth. And
It, there's a comparison with him and Abraham about their faith. Abraham never faltered with his faith.
yeah,
And here Joseph has not uh, lost his faith in God. He had the vision. He knows it's got to be real. He may not know when it's going to happen, but he knows that there's a purpose for everything. And he's looking toward that.
yeah,
And I think that's probably part of the reason why he doesn't falter. And of course, there's something in there that, uh, as we said earlier, you commit rape, you're most likely dead. uh, and it's in the Pharaoh's prison. And I told you about reading something about that is a place where people are sent to die.
yeah,
Because being in Pharaoh's prison, I guess, is like the last straw, and you're marked as dead. But somebody somewhere, I know God controls it all, and it could only have been Potiphar. He had to have had some pull in that and uh, set it up that Joseph is going to be treated better, and immediately this prison guard sees that uh, sees these things happening. Is like, hey, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette. You take care of the prisoners.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and everything that he's done with these prisoners, however that could be in prison. And like I said, better food, better accommodations. Maybe they got HBO. I don't know. But
yeah,
there's something in that prison that made it much better for the other prisoners too. It wasn't just Joseph. The other prisoners prospered in a sense
mm,
uh,
yeah,
by following Joseph's lead, so to speak.
yeah,
And we kind of see that when who was it? Peter and Silas are in prison,
mm-hmm,
and no, or was it Paul? I can't remember. Anyway, the prison guard was going to kill himself because he was afraid all the prisoners would leave. I think it was Paul. And he said, "No, don't worry about it. All the prisoners are still here. I can't remember. There's so
Can't
many things
remember
that happened.
either.
Maybe it was a shipwreck. I don't know. But it's the same thing, that uh, you've got a man of God that has taken control of a situation, and it's just amazing that
Yeah,
all it takes is one person.
yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, and regardless of how bad it looks, God is still in control. And like you said, it sets Joseph up to be the type of the Messiah. And we've already discussed this in previous episodes, but you know, the sages look back at the text and they see both a Messiah that had to die and a Messiah that would be the conquering king that would defeat all of God's enemies and liberate Israel from enemy tyranny. And they couldn't put them two together.
mhm.
So they came up with the idea, well, there's the Messiah, the suffering servant, the son of Joseph. And this is where it comes from. And the Messiah, the conquering king, the son of David. And that's why they, in the New Testament, when they call Jesus, it's like, Son of David, have mercy. They recognize him. They were saying, yes, you're the Messiah, but you're the conquering king one. Well, what happened to the suffering servant? And Isaiah is looking at this, and he's seeing that the suffering servant must come first. Isaiah chapter 53. Um, the suffering servant goes to the slaughter silently like a lamb. Um, before before there is victory, before there is a messianic reign, there has to be the suffering, and we are called to be emulators of the Messiah, of Christ. That's why the followers of Christ are called Christians, little Messiahs, little Christs, because ideally that's who people see when they see us.
Or should.
And uh, so let's not lose hope when we suffer adversity, when we suffer unjustly, when we are imprisoned or tortured or uh, maimed, or we live in a dark world where people are followers of Christ are suffering everywhere, um, denied basic human rights, denied the right to live. Um, and despite the victory that we see at the end, the light that we see at the end of the tunnel, until we get there, there will be persecution, there will be suffering. The church is not going to dispel all the darkness from this world. The church is simply called the restrainer in the epistles. We are the ones who restrain the darkness, but we don't completely overtake it. That only happens when the Messiah, the conquering King, comes back. Um, so let's not lose sight of that. That's, as Paul says, let our hope not be just for this world, because if it is so, then we are most wretched. Um, but yeah, and when it comes to sexual temptation, everybody goes like a lamb silent to the slaughter. Either silently led to the slaughter in their sin, or like Joseph, completely innocently. Um, temptation always exacts a toll. Let's make sure that it's not our lives, but um, yeah, yeah. The church has been scandalized way too much over the last
2,000 years.
yeah, and it's even more so in public eye now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't bring to light what was done in secret. The evil stuff, no, justice must be served. Um, we cannot hide the darkness. We need to bring it to the light. But let us not be found to be one of those who has not only covered up but also created that darkness. Um, let not the name of God be profaned among the nations because of us. Yeah. So, again, um,
Some happening stuff. More to come.
more to come.
Joseph is fixing to move up and out. Might take a little bit, but
It's always darkest before
Don.
and well, this passage this week has brought the darkness. Uh, it only means that the dawn is near.
Mm-hmm.
And remember to tune in for next week, next episode. And till then, would you like to remind people about?
There you go. Okay. Look, if you'd like us to advertise for your church, there's the address. You can send us a T-shirt. You can send us hats or whatever that we can advertise for you. Big banners, sort of. But we'd love to give you free advertisement. Lets us know where you're listening from. You know, send us a brochure of who your church is, the name, what you believe in. We don't discard anybody other than Jehovah Witness, Mormons, and Satanists. But it doesn't matter if you're Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian, Catholic. We do not discriminate as long as this is what you believe in, from front to back and everything in between. We teach the Word of God to the best of our knowledge, and like we said before, we make mistakes. And when you hear a mistake, please let us know. You can write us. You can send a postcard. You can email us, and that email is
support@firmfoundationspodcast.com.
And I think, is that down there too?
It's not, but
okay.
You can find it in the bio or check out our website, firmfoundationspodcast.com.
All right. Double X, correct? Large hats, I think, are all the same. We'd love to give you free advertisement.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think that about wraps it up.
So, until next time, God bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and give you peace.